I kept journal of what famous stock trading people featured on CNBC and Bloomberg said since 2020. I also tracked some trading social media personalities. I make one video a year about it, and now it is 5 years. So this is a video about that. Disclaimer: not financial advice, and these are just my opinions. In the first part of the video, I present 14 notable personalities and how they performed. In the second part of the video, I dive into specific predictions during the year. For the methodology of how the scoring is done, you can watch my original first video. In no particular order, here are people I selected for this year highlights, and Tom Lee, as usual, quite frequent on CNBC. I think he improved a little bit his score, and actually let me switch to more specific screen here. So he improved his score, and we can see that overall his general positivity played well for him. Unfortunately, he is a perma bull person who always like bullish, or almost always. So since the year 2025 was good for stocks, he obviously got high score. The newcomer is Howard Marks, which is a billionaire and founder of Oaktree Capital. He was quite bearish during this year, and in general, a lot of billionaires somehow were very bearish during the year. So he is just one of many whom I track, and obviously he got negative score here, and essentially I will talk later about JP Morgan Jamie Dimon, who probably was one of the most famous people who was very bearish during the whole year. Paul Tudor Jones, I'm pretty big fan of him. He still has a positive score, and by the way, these scores are overall for all 5 years. So 25 just changed averages for these people. So he did pretty decently, but still was a little bit wrong with certain calls, especially Bitcoin. So that's Paul Tudor Jones. Ray Dalio always kind of negative and always says, okay, the empire is on decline, meaning the US is on decline, and blah 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 like that. For probably 10 years he does that. But he still somehow maintains positive score despite that. At your journey, one of the winners, in my opinion, in this tracking so far, because he has pretty high score. The maximum is 5, by the way, +5. So he is frequent on CNBC. He's not a billionaire or anything, just a PhD guy, investment consultant, but he did some decent calls, bullish and bearish during the year, so pretty good. Next is our bond guy, Jeffrey Gundlach. I track him all the time. He almost always suggests buying bonds because he's bond guy, but somehow he still maintains close to 0 score, which is decent. Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the famous trading people and billionaire, did some public bad statements during the year, so that's his score. And I decided to add 2 ladies to the list because I noticed it was only men in previous years, so I did 2. Stephanie Link is featured often on CNBC, and she has a good score because she was specific about some companies she recommended to buy, which did pretty well. And in the second part of the video, where I dive deeper, I will talk more about that. And another lady is Katie Stockton. Not very famous company, honestly, but she was featured a lot on CNBC during the year, so she always were like doing long calls and was pretty bearish on instant, so in the wrong times. So that's his score. And our famous guy Jamie Dimon, very negative score because he was extremely bearish during the whole year, and people lost money because of that, lost that opportunity. So that's Jamie Dimon. Now, my special page for social media personalities in finance. Meet Kevin, a former real estate person, now a stock and crypto, I guess, person. So did some pretty bad calls, and one of them I still remember was about 14 months back. He predicted that in the next 12 months, bonds will be the best investments, which now we know is not true because 12 months passed, and if you bought bonds, you didn't really do very well compared to stocks. Um, Sven Carlin, value investing, social media personality, YouTuber. Uh, Even so, the score is somewhat slightly negative. I actually respect his calls in general. He did some good calls during the year. ADM, I remember, was one of the stocks he recommended, which did decently after he suggested it. This is unusual YouTube and educated economist. He is like literally not doesn't have, according to him, economic education, but he talks a lot about Federal Reserve and macroeconomics. So uh, he is in lumber industry, and he noticed that real estate and lumber are not doing very well, so he was quite pessimistic. And then Daniel Brown, Canadian investing YouTuber, exactly zero, meaning he did some good and bad calls in general. So that's why it's such a score. Okay, so that's like first part of the video. Then of course you can go to the link provided in the video to research every single predictions the people made that I mentioned here, and you can dig deeper. But I also like do some highlights during the year and just go through them. So this is the economics bed diary that I keep. You can go online and just check all these calls for yourself. There are like all these different predictions that people made all the way going back to 2020. You can filter it by personalities, but so let's just dive straight in, and we'll start with ladies. So Hightower Stephanie Link, the one I mentioned earlier. Let's see. This is her average 1.09 and her predictions. These most recent predictions are not scored yet because we still don't know. Usually I take a timeline of about 3 to 6 months of a prediction to realize and let it see, let it develop and see how it really scores in general. So one interesting prediction here that really hit her pretty bad is she recommends buying Amazon and Broadcom. On the other hand, Broadcom is maybe okay, but actually now it's okay. But this look at the date, it is January last year, and obviously, if you remember, there was a huge drop in stock prices during February, March, and April a little bit. So both of the stocks did pretty bad, so people would lose a lot of money. And I'm not usually evaluating things long term beyond 1 year or something. So mostly it's like how you predict things within like next couple quarters. So we can see that was a pretty bad prediction, but she did also quite good ones. Like she was bullish Walmart at this point in May and did pretty well in that sense. So overall, if you take all the averages, she was quite decent with her predictions. Um, then we have Kelly Stockton. Let's see. Here she is. And if you look at her predictions, we'll go to new lows. Things we will see April lows or lower. And this is in May when stocks started to recover rapidly. And of course, that would be terrible as a prediction. And that's why she got those bad scores. Ed Yardeni, like one of the winners, I would say, of this competition on predictions. He was almost never wrong if you look at what he said. And it's not just because he was always positive, but also like look at this call, lowering his S&P year-end target to 6,400, which is pretty precise. Uh, Positive on large cap, but not max 7. Doesn't like small caps. Exactly the point at that moment in time. So he was surprisingly very precise about many of these calls. Next one is Jamie Dimon. Let's find him. So if you look here, the only positive one I can see from relatively recent is once US economy faced an outcome worse than a recession or stagflation. So there was some stagflation, obviously. Now we know that there was not enough growth in real economy, and prices were rising a lot. So he was kind of right about it, but not worse. So like, oh, like not that gloomy. And then during this whole 2025, he was super negative, and that kind of why he got the penalty and got penalized. In general, if you remember, there was this price war and trading war. I think all these gloomy predictions, they were very political, I think, and now we know it was not as much a big deal, and it was actually hurting United States' position in all these trade negotiations, being that gloomy. So I don't really approve all this gloominess, and also, you know, that is wrong prediction, as we know now. Whom else we want to go for? Let's go to um, YouTubers. So let's go to. I already spoke about Meet Kevin, but let's go to Sven. Where is he? Sven Carlin. So this guy did very good recommendation on Google in May, when, if you remember, Google was not doing very well. It was such a good call there, and he recorded a video about it. Then, yeah, there were some negative predictions. Well, SML, well, SML didn't do as good. I don't know why. Oh, because of, I think Pepsi was actually recovering. But oh, he actually says Pepsi and KHC is too expensive, so not buy it. And indeed, these two didn't do very well. If you look at this moment, and basically this video is exactly on 1st of January 2026, so we can I don't know what's gonna happen next, but these are kind of current predictions and how they performed. And that was a good prediction. So he says, don't buy this, and indeed they didn't do very well. You might want to buy this, and it was okay. Then let's look at Dalio. So mostly negative, especially recently he was. Oh, and I think he was like applying same kind of pressure as all other billionaires on US position in terms of trade negotiations. So I think there was like a huge pressure, like, oh, don't do those high tariffs, or we are all screwed. And he was one of that group of powerful people doing that, I guess. Yeah, just interesting notice about Josh Brown. He is featured often on CNBC, and in general, he is like another Kramer guy, so not doing very well in terms of predicting precise. Like, how you recommend Disney in June 2025 if Disney performs so terrible, for example? I don't know. Paul Tudor Jones kind of got worse, I would say. If you look at his old predictions, he did great. Now it's not as great, but he was also not too bad either, because he said, yeah, inflation will be sticky. He was right about it. He said, don't buy long bonds. He was right about that. So if you followed his advice, he wouldn't be too bad for sure. So yeah, that's the situation. I think that's good enough for this video. Hey, it's 5 years now, and I'm gonna continue doing it annually. I think it's a good idea to like have accountability of what people predict. I add newcomers, like 314 is relatively recently. I start tracking. He doesn't have bad track record actually, pretty good. So I will maybe feature him next year. Same with Adam Parker from Trivariate Research company. So probably will add them to next year. Okay, thank you.